Kevin Costner is facing another headline he can't rewrite, and this time it's not just gossip from the rumor mill. First came reports of a heated on-set clash that left a co-star shaken and another in tears. Then came a lawsuit over money, the kind with numbers so specific they tell you someone's been keeping receipts. Is this just bad timing for Hollywood's last cowboy, or is there a pattern forming that the industry can't ignore? Because when you're Kevin Costner, a two-time Oscar winner who spent decades building credibility as both a leading man and a director in his own right, the question everyone's whispering isn't whether you're talented, it's whether anyone wants to work with you anymore. Right now, Costner stands at a crossroads that would make his character in Dances with Wolves look easy by comparison. His bitter exit from Yellowstone, the show that reignited his career and turned him into television's most bankable star, is still fresh in everyone's memory. And his passion project Horizon has become a cautionary tale about ambition meeting reality. The first Horizon chapter costs somewhere between $50 million and $100 million depending on who you ask, with Costner reportedly pouring $38 million of his own money into the production, and it made just $38.7 million at the global box office, a disaster by any measure. Chapter 2 was filmed and finished but sits in distribution limbo with no release date in sight. And Chapters 3 and 4 remain unfunded dreams that Costner once pitched to Saudi officials in a meeting that went nowhere. This is the backdrop against which two news stories have emerged. And together they paint a picture that's making Hollywood nervous in ways that go beyond box office numbers. The first bombshell dropped in October when The Hollywood Reporter published an exposé detailing what sources describe as a physical altercation between Costner and Wes Bentley on the Yellowstone set. According to multiple sources who were present during the incident, tensions exploded while filming a tense dinner table scene involving Costner's John Dutton, Bentley's Jamie Dutton, and Kelly Riley's Beth Dutton. Costner, who was also an executive producer on the show, reportedly wanted Bentley to ignore what series creator Taylor Sheridan had written in the script and instead play the scene however Costner wanted it done. Bentley, according to sources, pushed back hard, telling Costner, in no uncertain terms, that he had signed up for a Taylor Sheridan show, not a Kevin Costner production. That's when things allegedly turned physical. Kevin didn't like that, and he lunged at him, one source told THR, adding that no fists were thrown but the two men were in each other's faces, pushing and shoving and getting hot until crew members had to separate them. Another source claimed that Riley was in tears as Costner and Bentley were pulled apart, and production briefly shut down. Representatives for Bentley confirmed the incident to THR, describing it as a work-related argument during an emotional and physically tough scene that was discussed and resolved. But the damage to Costner's reputation on set was apparently already done. The incident with Wes was the line in the sand, another source explained. Everything was different after that. Everyone loved Wes, and so that really made Taylor upset. Kevin and Taylor butted heads from there on out. It got very awkward. Luke Grimes, who plays Case Dutton, later told Esquire that the second half of Season 5 was actually the easiest season they filmed, adding pointedly that, with Costner gone, some of the conflict was gone too. Then came the headline that hits where it hurts in Hollywood, not gossip or he said she said from anonymous sources, but a lawsuit with numbers attached and receipts to back them up. Western Costume Leasing Company filed a breach of contract lawsuit on December 22 in Los Angeles County Superior Court against Costner and his production banner Territory Pictures, seeking roughly $440,000 for unpaid costume fees related to Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 2. According to the complaint, Western Costume provided valuable period-appropriate costumes for the production under contract, delivered them as agreed, and watched the invoices go unpaid. The lawsuit points to one invoice from 2024 for $134,256.82 in costume rentals, a number so precise it practically screams accounting department rather than ballpark estimate. But the total amount Western Costume is seeking goes far beyond that initial rental fee. The complaint asks for $150,000 in economic damages, $200,000 in attorney's fees, roughly $40,000 in accrued interest on the unpaid bills, and $100,000 in punitive damages. The legal documents go further, alleging that the production did not pay the agreed-upon rate for the costumes and failed to return the costumes undamaged, and that the defendants did not commit these acts out of any sincere or proper motive, but did so maliciously, oppressively, and fraudulently. Those are fighting words in a legal complaint. The kind of language that suggests Western costume isn't interested in quietly settling this behind closed doors. Here's what makes this costume lawsuit particularly dangerous for Costner's future in the industry. And it's not just about the money. This is the second costume-related lawsuit Horizon has faced. Earlier in 2025, United Costume Corporation sued Horizon Series Costner's loan-out firm for roughly $350,000 over unpaid fees, spanning both Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and that case was settled in August, with terms that weren't disclosed. When you're a mega-Western epic, with a budget that reportedly topped $100 million between the first two films, and the fight that's making headlines is over costumes, that tells the industry something important. It suggests cash flow problems, budget shortfalls, the kind of financial instability that makes vendors nervous about working with you on future projects. When a costume company sues, other costume companies notice. When rental houses don't get paid, other rental houses start demanding payment upfront or refusing to work with you entirely. This is how reputations get destroyed in Hollywood. Not through one spectacular failure, but through a death by 1,000 cuts. Each vendor, each contractor, each crew member who doesn't get paid on time or doesn't get paid at all, and suddenly you're the producer that nobody wants to take a risk on. The lawsuit arrives as Costner continues to defend the massive personal investment he made in Horizon, telling GQ in May 2024 that pouring his own money into the project was about values. That's the message I want my kids to understand about who I am. That I do what I believe in, Costner said, framing his financial gamble as a principled stand rather than a miscalculation. But principle doesn't pay costume rental bills, and it doesn't make vendors whole when invoices go ignored for months. The Horizon production is also facing legal proceedings over alleged breaches to a co-financing agreement with distributor New Line Cinema, with an arbitration hearing scheduled for March involving Costner's company, Horizon bondholder, City National Bank, and New Line over who owes what to whom. Under their agreement, both New Line and Horizon Series were obligated to repay portions of the financing, but New Line maintains it covered its share, as well as Costner's share, while the bank argues it still owed additional funds. That's a complicated way of saying there's a fight over money at multiple levels of this production. And none of it inspires confidence in potential investors or collaborators for future installments. And there's another lawsuit that can't be ignored in this conversation. In May, stunt performer Devin LaBella filed a lawsuit against Costner and the production companies, alleging sexual discrimination, harassment, and creating a hostile work environment over what she described as an unscripted rape scene, filmed without an intimacy coordinator. Despite contractual requirements, Costner forcefully denied the allegations, calling them absolutely false and deeply disappointing. And in October, a judge dismissed 2 of LaBella's 10 claims while allowing 8 to proceed. That case remains pending, another legal cloud hanging over the Horizon franchise and Costner's reputation. Supporters say this is normal Hollywood noise, that big productions always face lawsuits, and that vendors sometimes sue to get attention when payment disputes arise. They point out that Costner has bounced back from career setbacks before, that he's a proven talent who deserves the benefit of the doubt, and that one box office disappointment doesn't erase decades of success. Critics, however, say the headlines are starting to add up in ways that can't be dismissed as coincidence or bad luck. When you combine the on-set clash with Bentley, the multiple costume lawsuits, the co-financing dispute, the stunt performer allegations, and the box office failure of Horizon Chapter 1, the pattern they see is someone who may have overextended himself creatively and financially, someone whose ego and vision have outpaced his ability to execute and maintain professional relationships. And they point out that allegations are not proof, that lawsuits can be filed by anyone for any reason, but that when this many legal problems emerge around a single production, it suggests something more systemic than isolated bad actors trying to shake down a celebrity. What does a number like $134,256.82 tell you? That someone is keeping receipts. That this isn't a rough estimate or a negotiating position, but actual accounting with dollars and cents tracked to the penny. When costume companies include numbers that specific in lawsuits, it signals they've documented everything, every rental agreement, every delivery, every damaged garment, every invoice sent and ignored. It's the difference between saying you owe us a lot of money and you owe us exactly this much and here's the paperwork to prove it. That precision makes the lawsuit harder to dismiss or settle for pennies on the dollar, because Western Costume can apparently show exactly what was provided, when it was provided, what was agreed upon, and what wasn't paid, for a production that Costner has publicly stated cost him tens of millions of his own money. The fact that $134,000 in costume rentals went unpaid raises uncomfortable questions about priorities and financial management. So what comes next for Kevin Costner and the Horizon saga that was supposed to restore his reputation as a cinematic visionary? Will this costume lawsuit be settled quietly like the previous one, making the problem go away with a check and a confidentiality agreement? Does it affect Horizon's future, making it even harder for Costner to secure the funding needed to complete Chapters 3 and 4 when potential investors can see the trail of unpaid vendors and legal battles? Is this just a bad run of luck and timing for a Hollywood legend who took a big swing and missed? Or is it something bigger, a fundamental shift in how the industry views Costner as a collaborator and business partner? The construction of a $100 million film studio in Utah that Costner and Territory Pictures are spearheading with a local developer continues, suggesting he's not giving up on his Western dreams, but whether he can find the partners and financing to actually use that studio for future Horizon installments remains an open question. For now, Chapter 2 sits completed but unreleased, a finished film in distribution limbo, while Chapter 1 bounces from one streaming platform to another, trying to find an audience that didn't show up in theaters. Comment below, is Hollywood turning on Kevin Costner? Or is this just business as usual in an industry where even legends face tough times and lawsuits are part of the cost of doing business?